good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, wherever it is you are watching, listening from. How's everybody doing? I am delighted to be here with you today. It's going to be a great show. I have a fantastic guest, and it's just going to be wonderful. So I'm going to say hello also to everyone from our TikTok audience. How you all doing out there? Yes. And want to let my and LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How y'all doing? Thank you for being here. I'm delighted that you've joined. Now, I want to say to my friends TikTok, I have a guest. So now you'll be able to hear me, but you probably won't be able to hear my guest. So what I'm going to do is after I finish this show, I'm going to come on live with you and do a summary and kind of bring you the highlights. So you're going to get a special show out there. Veronica, how you doing this morning? So good to see you. Thank you. And listen, let me know where you're from and what's the weather like where you are here in Detroit. So our guest is in from Boston. So I kind of think her weather might be similar to the weather in Detroit. It's kind of hot and sticky and rainy, and it is summertime. Janelle, oh, that's my sister, my blood sister, my little sister. Can I still say my baby sister? Calling in from New Jersey on the Jersey Shore. Mwah, 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 mwah. How you doing? Oh, it's so good to see Dr. Trinette. Now you know that's my girl. Now you know, Dr. Pierce is going to be with us sometime within the next month or so. We're going to see her, but I already told her she can come on, but she cannot bring that hot weather with her. But it's not in the hundreds. Oh my gosh, you must be having a freeze time down there. How you doing, Michelle from Boston? Michelle, you know our guest is from Boston. That's probably why you joining today, right? Because you know our guest is from Boston, Bernadette. Oh my gosh, in the 90s where you are. How's my one of my favorite nonprofit leaders? How you doing, Bernadette? It's so good to see you. Mwah, mwah. Hey to my TikTok community. Sean, oh my gosh, how are you? Here from Spain. Sean, I want to tell you, I got a special announcement for everyone. But I'll give you, because you on with me today, I'll give you a little hint, but I'm going to be doing some salsa and some Latin dances. And I got to tell our guests too, well, I just might as well tell you all now. I've decided that I am going to join. I'm going to not join, but I'm going to sign up to compete in the Michigan Senior Olympics in dance sport. So I am going to be doing cha-cha, salsa, rumba. I'm going to be doing that thing. Yes, indeed. So I'll tell y'all more about it. Hey, Janelle. So it's thunderstorms there. Yeah, so Janelle, Janelle, my sister, hopefully she might fly out um, and see me. It's in November. I'm excited. I'm going to take everyone along on this journey that I'm going to, because I want every day to show you that it's never too late to do what your heart tells you to do, what your heart sings to you, and at any age. So I'll save that for you. Love you all on TikTok. I explained that you might not be able to hear my guest. So I'm going to come on right after we finish for a special um, live with my TikTok audience. Love you all. Hey there from Charlotte, North Carolina. How you doing? Thanks for following me. All right, we're going to get started because this conversation today is going to be such a great one. Um, and I'm hoping that you all have questions and comments, and remember to put them in the chat. But I want to talk about career change. And I want to ask you, are you ready to break free from any constraints you might have in your comfort zone and reimagine your career if you want to? So, if you want to do that, that's what we're going to talk about today, where we're going to challenge the notion that you might be too established or cautious to make a big, bold career move, do something that you've dreamed about doing, starting in an industry that has looked good to you for years, but you're not really sure. So, we're going to be exploring the exhilarating and sometimes really terrifying, daunting world of career transitions. Okay. My guest and I are going to share our journeys. Mine is from nonprofit executive for more than 4 decades to being a small business owner. And my guest, big time corporate lawyer, big law. They talk about big law that she was in, to executive and leadership coaching now. And she's got a book coming out, that all of you all are going to want to get. So in our conversation, we're going to talk about, some of the unexpected challenges you might find as we share our journeys, but more importantly, strategies for you to align your work, particularly with your values, and practical tips for reclaiming your time and energy in a new career. Because, when you go do something new, sometimes it takes a whole lot of different energy that you weren't really used to. So, and sometimes you also have that nagging inner critic, that voice that goes off in your head that says you can't do this, or why you think you can do it, and all those kind of things. We're going to talk about that because that's real. So whether you're thinking about a change, considering reinventing yourself, or maybe you've just made a career transition and you want to kind of see whether your journey is similar, or tips you can pick up, this conversation is for you. Real talk. So I want to introduce my guest coming to us from Boston, Arivee Vargas, who's going to guide us as we talk. The two of us are going to share our career changing journey. And so, as I said, she's made her own fabulous transition. How you doing? There she is.
Hi, thank you so
How
much. I
is
was
it?
over
Tell me,
here.
what's
I was over
happening?
here like head back laughing at you. I love the fact that you're going to be doing this Olympics and dance and doing the cha-cha salsa, whatever.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
was
have
so
to.
excited for you over here. I was like, oh
You'll have to give me some tips and tell me, the
oh, but I
style and all that
no, I don't
beautiful
know
stuff.
ballroom. Ballroom is like another level of
Oh, is
sophistication.
it?
Yeah, I
Oh,
know
wow.
like the street version.
Well, see, I want to know that too. Okay. I want to know it all. All. I want to do it all. So I'm so delighted, Adavi, that you're here with us. You made a major transition. I just admire so much. You went from the courtroom to arguing cases in court to coaching leaders. Tell us about that wild ride.
Oh yes. Thank you so much for having me first of all.
Mwah.
I started with the salsa and the cha-cha because that's you were talking about that, but thank you so much for having me. I love your energy right off the bat. I have to say that. I love your optimism and your positivity. And it's really reinvigorating, especially on a Wednesday morning, right? On a Wednesday morning when it's like hump day and you're in the middle of the week. So thank you for having me. Have had quite a journey. I will say that my journey really started, I mean, when I was born, clearly, but before I became a lawyer. And I only say that because part of my humble beginnings and being the daughter of Dominican immigrants really helped shape me as a person and helped shape how I see the world and how I see opportunity. When I see challenge, I see opportunity. I don't see I can't do it. I see how can I make this work for me? And that's been true throughout my education when things got really hard or when I was behind in subjects in high school, for instance. Most people don't know that when I went to high school, I was behind in math. And
Okay.
the first paper I turned in as a freshman in high school didn't even merit a grade because she said I couldn't write and I needed to get specific, very personalized tutoring. When
Isn't it
I
something how those
graduated number
things
3
can,
in my 8th grade class, right? So there's a difference in the way that we educate our kids and what you
yes.
could be stellar when you leave your school than when you go to another school that's very competitive. You actually can't even do the thing you thought you were really good at. And I only share that story because I then became a lawyer, and writing was a major part of my practice as a litigator.
Absolutely. Right.
Yes. And I
Isn't it?
love writing. Like I
So,
am, yeah, like I love
so
writing now. So,
look who ended up winning.
yeah.
Right, you got it. Let me just tell my TikTok community, I have a guest. Unfortunately, I don't think you can hear, but it just occurred to me. Come on over to LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook. We're streaming live. You can join us there. Those of you who can't do that, I will come on after we finish this. I'm going to come on live to my TikTok community. I see all of you there, but please join us over on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube. We're streaming live right here, right now. But right now, I'm going to say goodbye. Love you. See you soon. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
It's good.
Yes,
Get them over here. Get
let's
them over here.
yes, let's get to that part where you showed, you had the last laugh and the last dollar.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so I fast forward, I went to law school and became a lawyer and worked at 2 large law firms. I also clerked for a few judges, meaning that's who writes opinions for judges. So when you ever see big Supreme Court opinions, those are written by clerks, law clerks, meaning people
Yes.
who came out of law school who had practiced for a while, and they are now writing opinions. So I did that at the federal level for a few years. And after I was in law firm life for a while, went in-house to basically be a lawyer inside of a company, and then also did corporate compliance work and led and designed and implemented a ton of corporate compliance initiatives at the same company, and then transitioned into HR as the global head of employee relations, and then transitioned into leading all leadership development initiatives for the company, including executive coaching programs and programs for emerging leaders. So our pipeline of leaders, creating programs for them as well. But along that path, people would think that seems really linear, but it was not, because when you leave law, so when I was going from the legal world to the HR world, that was a massive leap, because you are essentially saying, I don't want to be in the practice of law anymore, because HR is not law. Like, even if you do employee relations, it's not the same. And that was a turning point for me in my career and my life, because it's just something that I didn't want to do anymore. I didn't find the purpose in it the way that I did before. And I had already been coaching. So Dr. Geneva, what people don't realize is this business I have right now, I've had for almost 6 years. So I was coaching on the side, even when I was doing legal corporate compliance stuff and doing all of that fun work. I was coaching on the side. I was speaking. I was doing things. I just wasn't doing it at the level I can do it at now, right? Because I was always curious about how can I really impact people's lives and really uplift people. And I wasn't able to do that in my day job. Like, I just really wasn't the way that I wanted to and the way that I feel like I was called to. So I was like, well, let me supplement what I do at work with something that I'm super passionate about and where I can help people. So that's how I got into coaching.
Wow.
And that's how I started speaking.
When you said that supplement, I just think there's such a great lesson in that, because what I hear, and again, I had the similar experience, is you can test out, you can do things while you're doing your regular, let's say it's a 9 to 5, whatever it is, that you can experiment with other careers, whether it's volunteering, whether it's doing it on the side. But if you're passionate about, so there's this opportunity to test out. I remember when as I was thinking about, how I wanted to go ahead and leap into starting my own business, because it had always been a dream of mine, but I was just too scared to do it. And I'd been in the nonprofit world for so long, but I really was doing the same kind of work and, transforming, working on transformation and helping change neighborhoods, communities, schools. And now what I'm doing now is helping people change their lives and do
Yes.
what they want to do. But it was all about the transformation. And so you were really practicing and doing that passion and the work you're doing now. Is that right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
what I do now, now thankfully full time, is I'm the CEO and founder of Humble Rising LLC, and that really aims, and this is my personal mission as well, because my company is essentially my mission, right? It's to empower women professionals, particularly first generation women of color, but all women, to really stand and live in their truth, to stand and live in their power and their worth, actually their self-worth, right? To create a life which includes your career, that aligns with who you really are, what you really want, and to do it with this clarity and this courage, so that you can be the leader in your own life and you can live fully, because we only get one life. And I can't tell you how many times I think about this. I always tell my friends, am I weird for thinking about death all the time? Because it really is the only one guarantee we all have in life, is that we are all going to die at one point. And what we do is we delay everything, thinking we have more time. And that's not true. You don't always have more time. You don't know how much time you have. So you have to live your life fully, responsibly, but fully, and as vibrantly as you can. And that means sometimes taking risks. It means sometimes stepping into the unknown, because that also makes you feel alive too, when you don't know and you're
Yes.
terrified.
Oh my
But I'm going to
gosh.
do it anyway because I feel it in my soul. That's really what it is for me.
So, Humble Rising, there's got to be a story behind that, because that's also the title of your upcoming book, if I remember correctly. January 14th, it's coming out, 2025.
Yes.
What's the story behind Humble Rising?
Yes. Okay. So I have a podcast that I started 4 or so years ago, called the Humble Rising Podcast. And Humble Rising LLC, the podcast is really named after. And the humble, that word does not mean how I grew up hearing the word. So most of us hear be humble when we're younger, meaning like be quiet, don't talk about yourself, don't advocate for yourself, stay small, don't show off. Like, don't be too much, right? That's the messaging that we heard and most of us internalized. But when I say humble as an adult, because we're not children anymore, we're adults, we can choose what we believe, right?
Yes.
When I say humble, what I mean is the humility that you don't know everything and that you'll never know everything, but you're going to be learning and growing, and you love that process. So that's when I think of humble, that's what I think of. And then rising is rising up to meet who you truly are and who you want to most become. And in that process of rising, you must be humble. Like, you must be open to that process and open to learning. And so the book, Your Time to Rise, which is your time to rise, unlearn limiting beliefs, unlock your power, and unleash your truest self, is very much part of that. And I talk about humble rising in that book, just explaining it a little bit more about why that phrase resonates and why I chose it.
Love it. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to read it. I want to read it, and I want a signed copy too.
Yes. Oh, I'll give you a signed copy. Yes. No, for sure. And people can pre-order it right now. You can pre-order it on Amazon right now.
Oh, okay. So you can go to Amazon and pre-order Arivee's book,
Yep.
Your Time to Rise.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. So the transition. Let's talk about
Yeah.
transitions, career transitions. What was the scariest part of going from this big time attorney into full time coaching clients?
Oh, so even though there were little pivots right in between
Okay.
that, I would say the biggest fear, if I had to really think about what the biggest fear was,
Mm-hmm.
at the time I framed it in my mind as a fear of failure.
Okay.
Because when you go to law school, you go to a law firm, you cut your teeth for a lot, many hours. You're working really hard. You go to a big biotech, fast paced, same type of environment where you're working long hours, you're working hard, working with A players, everybody's at a certain level. You are constantly leveling up your game. You're used to a certain pace. You also have established your reputation. You're good at what you do. You're learning, but like you have a solid foundation. You're pretty good at what you do. And you're just getting better and learning more. And so
Yes.
you've reached somewhat of like, you've been climbing a mountain. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're not at
Right.
the top, but you're pretty close to the mountain that
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to climb at the beginning of your career or in the middle, or even if I pivoted, I was still on a trajectory of this mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I decided to go full time speaking, coaching, writing, even though I'd been doing it, I hadn't been doing it full time the way that I had been doing everything else for 15 plus years.
Got
Right.
it.
So you have
Mm-hmm.
to be okay with you're going to maybe stumble down the mountain to get back, to climb the next one. Right. So my biggest fear was really that I would fail, like that I couldn't make this work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was talking to someone and she said, no. She said, I think I want you to consider something else. And I said, okay, what? She said, I think you're afraid of succeeding. She's like,
Ah.
because think about why you want to do this, because you want to truly align everything in your life, your soul, with like what, you're doing in the world and making a big impact for women. She's like, that's what you are called to do and you want to do. And you also want to have more freedom. Like one of my number one core value is freedom of time,
Okay.
money, freedom of everything, like
Mm-hmm.
for everyone. Like that's really
Mm-hmm.
my core value. And she's like, and you want more freedom. You don't want to be 9 to 5,
Yes.
or 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. You want more time with your children, to be more present. You want less stress. She's like, and that's what you are doing right now. You're doing that in your business. Like you're doing that for yourself. She's like, and I think you're scared that's going to work out for you because it's a
Ah.
reality you don't know.
Success. Yeah.
And that's 1000% accurate.
Exactly. That reality that you haven't experienced yet because it's that new thing. And so often, fear of failure and fear of success are different sides of the same coin.
Yes.
They really are. My greatest fear when I made my transition was that I wasn't going to make enough money,
Yes.
because I had spent too many years being a W 2, where you get that regular
Yep.
paycheck every couple weeks. And making that transition into that's not going to happen anymore. You have to go out and get clients, get contracts, get speaking
Yes.
fees. And so that one was a big one. And one of the things that I did was that before I left my last organization, where I was the head of that organization, I negotiated an arrangement where I would be a consultant, which was going to be my new business, but I would be a consultant for that organization for a defined period of time. So that gave me a chance to kind of, just not cut it off immediately. And
Right.
I like to tell folk who are thinking about career changes, don't forget to, plan out and think about the money and where the finances are going to come in. So, Artivee, tell me, what's the best thing that you like about your new career?
I I think it's the freedom. It's the freedom to do, I'm going to say it, to do what I want when I want. If
Ah,
I don't want to do, if I'm not interested in a speaking engagement, it's no. If I really want to do it, like I'm going to go for it, right? If you know, I meet with someone and I think they're a great fit, like I want to work with them. But if I meet with them and they're not a great fit, or I feel like another coach would be better for them, I like saying I can help you in a different way by having this person coach you. I like the freedom I have with my life. Like I can do certain things I couldn't do before. Let me give you an example. This
Yes.
afternoon, it's going to be really hot here in Boston. It's going to be like 87 degrees, and it's
Yes.
going to be nice, like not too humid. And I said, oh, and I looked at my schedule and I'm like, oh, I have a few things, but I can move them. Like I have the power. I am the CEO of my company, right? I can change things more and more easily than if I was an employee. Like it's just the truth. Like I do want to say that you do have more control as an entrepreneur and a business owner than you do as an employee. You probably still can exercise a lot more control than you think you have as an employee, but as an entrepreneur, you really have much more. And so this afternoon, it's really nice out. And I said, you know what? I'm going to move those 2 meetings. I can move those. They're not urgent meetings. I can move them to next week. And now I'm going to go to the beach after noon. I'm like, I'm going to the beach for 3 hours. No, not the whole day because I have things I need to do. But it's one of the last days of summer here. And I want to enjoy it. And I can do that. That's freedom. The freedom to, if I really want to pick up my kids, on a Friday at 3 p.m., I don't have to make an excuse or give an explanation to anybody. I can go do that. And then obviously I work around that so I accomplish what I need to accomplish. But it's the time freedom to me, the time freedom has become even more valuable than like the money freedom piece.
Yes. And so, what I also heard in that freedom is the ability to live out your passions or do what
Yes.
you like doing. And so, whether you're, for those of you who are thinking about, maybe you're not thinking about starting your own business, maybe you want to move from, the corporate world to heading a nonprofit or get into the nonprofit world or do something different, or maybe you want to go into another type in your industry. I know I'll say my sister, I don't know if she's still with us, but she's a healthcare executive. So she's in the hospital healthcare world. She also has done commercials. Hey, girl. She's also done commercials. And one of the things she always thinks about and talks about is maybe this is something I'll do full time. And so I think what that talks about is your passions
Yes.
and being able to pursue your passions at any age. I think it's something that we owe ourselves to do because, again, time will go by, it'll slip by, So, Artivee, one of the things I wanted to know, so as you made the transition, so you were doing some things, you were kind of practicing, experimenting with some things. This whole subject of transferable skills. A lot of conversation that I have with women is, they want to go in something new and different, but it's their passion. They want to give it a try, but they feel they don't have the skills or the experience. I don't believe that because I think, particularly if you're in midlife, there's so many skills you've already developed. But tell us, how did you, what were the skills from being a big time lawyer that in fact you're using in your new career?
Oh, so many. And Dr. Geneva, you're so right because there are so many women I speak to who are at law firms who are like, I really don't want to do this environment anymore because they've been hustling for years and they want to do something different. It could be just being a lawyer in a company or doing something different. And they say, I don't know what else I would do though. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have so many skills and you don't even realize it because you're in it. It's like a fish, asking a fish what water is. They're like, what are you talking about? What's water? What do you mean?
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's exactly what the fish is like. What are you talking about? That people don't see it because they're not able to see their own skills and themselves from a bird's eye view.
Right.
And that's where people like, you know, like you or I can show, you show them that. You show them, hey, this is what you can see. And so for me personally, as a lawyer, you're writing a lot. You are very analytical, you're very detail oriented. Precision is everything. You have to be accurate, you have to care about the details, the facts, and you have to be able to communicate very effectively. And that's essentially a lot of what I do, is especially when I'm speaking, it's I'm prepared, I know how to communicate a point and to illustrate something, and I'm able to present with confidence. And that's because of my training in many ways in the corporate world and at the law firm. I'm not scared of hard work. I will work very hard for something I love. It has to be something I like and I love. But I will work very, very hard, and I've trained that muscle. I've really strengthened that muscle to do that. And the other piece is, I think this is really important, is we forget that a lot of the skills that we've acquired over time, we have built and strengthened. And there are skills that we can also acquire anew to supplement the ones we already have. So for me, for example, right, I wanted to get a coaching certification years back. So I did that. There are plenty of coaches who have no certification because they're like, I don't need one. That's great. I wanted another skill set. I wanted to have something else. And then I did another one because I liked, there was a framework I really liked that I wanted access to. And to do that, you had to take the certification. So don't be scared to also do something new. And you're a great example of that, right? Like you're going to do the Olympics and dance. Like it's not too late to do that. And I think it's easier to do that and commit to it when you're pursuing, like you said, something very meaningful to you. If it's not meaningful to you, you're not going to feel it in your heart, and it's not going to feel worth it. You're not willing to go through the pain and the struggle and discomfort of it if it's not in here. Because we talk a lot about mindset, which is very important, like a growth mindset. But what's also important is like your soul and your heart. These two are all connected.
Yes, yes. Oh, I love that. So when the mind and the heart are in sync
Yes.
and aligned, then, it can make a difference. I think you're absolutely right. And a lot has to do with finding your why and
Yes.
why you're doing this, why you're in it. I love it. And, I think also that learning new stuff keeps you full of energy.
Yes.
Some might say keep you young.
Yes, it
but
does.
Keeps you, moving and grooving.
Yes. Yes.
One of the things that I had to do was to get more tech savvy. And even though,
Same.
yeah, right. Even though, I'm good with, the computer, and I got all the latest Apple products, and I had done that. But really getting into how do you, do video, and how do you use all of these various techniques, these new tools, AI, etc. And so I think part of that is learning the new, as you said, adding those new things to your portfolio as well as your current experiences. And we have so much. One of the things, Arivee, I do with my clients is what I call a TSA process, which is identifying your talents, skills,
Yes.
and achievements.
Yes.
And
Love that.
particularly if you're over 50. If you're in midlife, you have accomplished so much. You've become an expert in a wide range of different things. And you got talent because you got experience, because you've been through some stuff.
Yes.
But rarely do we sit down and make an inventory of that, a list of that, actually look at it and revel in it and feel good about it.
That's right.
But I
Bask
know
in it.
that helped me in my career transition.
Yeah. And I will add to that. I love that. With my clients, we do something similar. And here's the thing with that, and we haven't talked about this as much, but with the tech, even with the technology, I needed help too. How do I set up email automation? Like I had been doing that before, and where I would go on YouTube and learn how to do it myself in ConvertKit. And
Yes.
then I said, okay, now I'm going pro. So I need to level up my tech game. And so I hired someone to help me get a different level of technology knowledge and helping to support me. Support and accountability is so important in this journey. And I because someone could right now say, okay, I'm going to write down my talents, my strengths, my achievements. I'm going to write them down.
Right.
It's different when you have someone who also looks at that and asks you more about this one and that one, and tell me more about that. And how does it feel to write that down? Tell me more about the journey it took you to get there, about that achievement. That process of having someone reflect something back to you or mirror something to you and make you sit in that feeling a little bit more is really powerful. So I think people sometimes think they have to do everything on their own. But the truth is that for example, I have a PR team, I have a tech team, I have a coach. I have two coaches actually. One is in a group coaching program, another isn't. Like these are things that I needed to help me move through because I also need support and accountability. For transformation, I needed that too.
And we have our own common coach, mentor,
Yes.
and Shanae.
Shanae.
Shanae Moray, yes. That's how Arivee and I met. And if any of you want to become experts on doing LinkedIn and live video, Shanae and LinkedIn Live and all that work that she does is incredible. And you can find her, of course, on LinkedIn.
Yes.
But yes, so you're absolutely right. I loved it. So, one of the things I really don't want to leave our conversation till we talk about some of the perhaps scary stuff
Yeah.
in making a career transition. So we talked about, you shared what some of the best things were about your career, the freedom that you have, and how that aligns with your values, because freedom is your number one value, and what you're doing now, how that aligns. But I want to make sure we talk a little bit about some of the scary stuff. So, what helped you feel brave enough to make such a big change?
So here's the thing. I didn't anticipate leaving my job for another year. So I left prematurely because premature, quote unquote, to my own 1 year random arbitrary deadline. Because I was hearing this voice that was very, very loud over and over every single day, literally being like, hey, it's now. Like you're playing small. You need to play bigger now. You only get one chance at this life, Arivee. I'm not giving you more chances. You can't tell me you need 6 more weeks to live here. And I started hearing that voice of you need to go now. It is not later. And I actually talk about this precise moment in the most recent episode of the Humble Rising podcast. I just released it this week. I talk about that moment of, oh shoot, like I'm making up all these excuses and stories where I can't do this right now. I can do this now. And I think part of it for me personally, is I feel like this is a deep calling. Meaning, if I were to go tomorrow, like if God says, it's your time, Arivee, I will be like, okay, I did the work I needed to do because I was in the process. I was going for it. Like I was doing the thing that my soul is here to do on earth here, right? So for me, it's a very deep calling. So when people say like, oh, how did you have the bravery? How did you have that? One, I think courage is something you have to like generate and summon. It's not, I don't think it's just going to like happen to you. I think it has to come from really deep within and you say, you know what? This is scary. I don't know if this is all going to quote unquote work out the way that I may think it should. But for me, I have such faith that I said, you know what? If I just continue with the goals I have and I work my process and I show up and I'm consistent and I live by my own standard of excellence, I don't have to control the outcome. The outcome is going to be what it's going to be. And in all of my life, Dr. Geneva, like if someone would have said, hey, Arivee, you know that when I was a lawyer, if someone would have said, hey, you know what's going to happen to you? You're going to end up going to this company. You're going to do legal compliance. You're going to do some HR, leadership development, and you're going to become a coach. And then you're going to speak and you're going to write a book. I would be like, who's that person?
Right.
So we have to be open to that, open to the fact that it's never going to turn out the way you expect, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be great.
Yeah, and I love that, and everything that you are doing now. Really, I keep hearing the motivation, the why.
Yeah.
Back to your that mind and heart that you talked about, and it being aligned and in sync. I want to make sure that for any of you, if you've got other questions, please, I know you're going to put them in the chat for us. And we're here to share some of the ups and downs and twists and turns in our career transitions and journeys. And we're open to any of your questions. I see some of them coming in now. So we'll make sure that we respond and get to those questions. And again, I want to say hello to all of you who are joining. And so we're going to take those questions in just a moment. I just want to make sure that, again, you all know about Arivee's book that's coming out January 14th, 2025. And also her podcast. We
Yes.
want to make sure that we listen to that, and some good stuff that's going on. One other thing I want to talk about that I hear a lot from the women leaders I work with, and that is, as we're thinking about career transitions, particularly for those of us in midlife, the whole question of work-life balance doesn't go away. So it's been part of the career journey, wherever you are, whatever career you've been in. And trust, it does not go away when you're thinking about pivoting to another career or to another passion. That question of how do I do my thing and also be with my family and loved ones and balance the day-to-day demands of a career with the family life and freedom that I want. What's your experience been with work-life balance?
Oh, okay. This is a whole. So I did a whole LinkedIn live event on this question,
Love
Dr.
it.
Geneva, an entire 30 minutes because I'm so passionate about this. Because one of the things that I learned, because I went through burnout and depression, I've experienced that. I also have 3 children, and they're 9 and under. So this is a big topic for me. I'm very passionate about this. The number one thing I'm going to say is prioritizing your self-care is I cannot tell you how important that is, because if you are not taking care of yourself, everything else goes to SHIT. If you are not taking care of yourself, you are actually incapable of showing up for other people. And when I say that, I pushed myself so hard that when I hit that burnout depression place, I was essentially not functioning and I had to take a leave from work. And my kids weren't having the same mother. I was tired, fatigued, I was sad. So I think about that person who allowed herself to get there. And I said, I will never do that again to myself or to the people that I care about. So I think number one is we think of this phrase work-life balance, and what it's done to especially women is made people believe that there is a 50-50% kind of distribution between work and life. And the reality is that work is part of your life. It shouldn't be your entire life, but it's a part of your life. And that it's not about balancing, making them totally equal in terms of time and energy. It's really about how do I arrange the different parts of my life in a way that works for me and that makes me feel satisfied and happy with my life.
Yes,
and I think people miss that. Like, we look at the ebbs and flows of work, And I used to always talk to clients about this, that there is a spectrum. So sometimes when you're accelerating at work, yeah, you're gonna miss bedtime, or it's gonna be all work and you're gonna be going hard for a while. But that going hard can't be for 3 years where you don't get a lull and you don't get to pull it back a little bit so you get more time for you and your kids and the people and the things you love to do. Because we forget that there's a rhythm to life and there's a rhythm to work. And we want to be in that rhythm and be flexible and adaptable, but you shouldn't be going hard all the time because your body cannot sustain that. So I think one is we think of balance as this thing where it's like it must be perfect.
It has to be equal.
But it's
really,
not going to be.
You're right. I think really what we're looking for is the harmony.
Yes.
How can in fact
yes.
your work life and what you do with your career and what you do with family, how can that work in harmony? How can you harmonize that so that you can give a little more energy over in your career or your job 1 or 2 weeks, but then you're able to harmonize it with your family and your family life. And so looking for that, because it ain't equal. It won't be. And then the guilt we often feel when we're not, one of the reasons we feel guilty is because we're trying to get that exact that balance, like it's equal parts when it's not. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now we've got some questions coming in, so I want to make sure that we get them from Michelle. How you doing, Michelle? How do I keep a lack of experience from holding me back?
I would have to know more about what you mean by lack of experience. I would say don't confuse seniority in years with expertise, right? Like people, I always when I talk to, especially women in their 30s, like I'm in my 40s, but women in their 30s and 20s, I always tell them, like, you have to get a lot of reps in for the experience expertise to build. Like, it's reps. It's not necessarily years. It's like, what are you doing in those roles? What skills are you actually strengthening? That's really, you have to get nitty gritty into that instead of like, oh, I only have this many years of experience here, or I've only done this one thing. Yeah, but what did you do in that experience, and what skills did that give you?
And I think that word that you just used is that operative word, only. Because we tend to tell ourselves, I only have this, or I've only done that. And you've done more than that. Yeah. So first of all, let's take out the only, that word. And Michelle, I ain't asking you your age, but I do know this. If you're 40 or over, you got experience.
A lot of it.
Because what you did in your teenage years, in your 20s and 30s, doesn't compare to what life gave you as soon as you started hitting them 40s and 50s and 60s, okay? And whether it's career, family, or life, you got experience. So let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's start from the assets that we have, not the deficits. So only is deficit language. I only have this. Let's start with the assets in terms of you've worked X number of years in a career that you now have, and there's bunches of skills and experience you have acquired. And remember, we talked about transferable. So the vast majority of skills and experience that you have are in fact transferable. So, and then, hey, you don't have a lack. Look at your assets and keep on going. So Michelle, we wish the best of whatever it is that you're doing. And if you want to talk further about how you figure that out, drop me a note in the DMs, direct messaging in LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. See, I'm catching up with all of that language.
Can I just say something? I remember when people started saying DM, and I'm like, what is that?
Yes.
And I had to Google it, and they're like, it's a direct messaging, and I'm like, oh gosh.
I've learned all of that new language now. Thank you, Michelle, for your comment. We had, I think, another question. Okay. Uh, Venetia Esquire, another attorney. That's what that ESQ means, right?
Yep.
Please share with us any financial strategies you did to prepare for your career change, particularly if that change was from employment to starting your own business, which can have a great deal of financial uncertainty. Yes, absolutely. I shared one of them, which it was to negotiate an arrangement with the organization that I was with before I made the leap, and which really fit because they didn't really want to lose like that all of the institutional knowledge that I had, and I didn't really want to take that immediate leap. So I found the mutual interest. And so that's one thing. The other is to really do your budgeting, to actually forecast, do the forecasting, what certain things are going to cost, etc. Three, make sure you have some kind of nest egg, whether that's your personal savings, that advice that's given to all of us all the time about having 3 to 6 months worth of reserves in case something happens. Well, trust, when you're making that leap to entrepreneurship, lots of things going to happen. So that fits in that. What's been your experience? How did you prepare financially, Artivee?
I would say also, Venetia, it's good to see you. Uh, I will say that having the financial cushion was really important to me. And that to me actually I think is really important, because you don't want to go into the experience hating it because you're putting so much pressure on yourself to make money, and sometimes you can lose like the purpose behind what you're doing. So I would say, like, have a financial cushion. I would say, I'm going to just say, I think you should build at least a year of financial cushion, meaning, and this is going to sound extreme, but this is what I did. If I don't make $1, I will be okay. Meaning I have no paycheck coming in. Doesn't mean I have invested in stocks. Those are making money. I have investments. I'm making money. I'm talking about an income, you getting paid with a paycheck. That I said, okay, if I don't make 1 cent from a paycheck for 1 year, I'm still good. My kids can still go to school. Like, I can still buy groceries. I will be honest, you spend a lot less. You start realizing what you don't need and what you do. The other piece I will say to this, in addition to what you said, Dr. Geneva, is it is so important for you to, right now, like, if for all of you listening, if you're thinking about starting your own business, especially starting your own business, I cannot tell you how important relationships are. I cannot emphasize that enough, because for me, a lot of my coaching clients come from referrals. A lot of them come from referrals. Those are relationships. And then speaking also comes from referrals. Oh, I heard you speak, or my friend heard you speak, said you were great. Can I talk to you about speaking at my organization? And getting out there. You have to be out of your house. You got to get out into organizational, whatever it's, professional association events. You have to get out there to people who know who you are, so that when you eventually go into your own thing, you call them or you email them and say, hey, I'm actually now doing this, would love to grab coffee and have a chat. Like, I think we have to be building the relationships now, though. Like, if you can see yourself doing it later, you have to do it now, because you're going to leverage those later.
And that's right. And using what you're doing now
Yes.
as your practice field,
Yep.
so that you're thinking about and planning financially, so that you're identifying and strengthening the network and contacts that you already have. You have them, that you're talking about um, and thinking about what you want to be in a year or two. What do you look like? What does your business look like? By doing all of those things while you're in your current thing.
Yes.
Okay? Use your current situation, I often think of it as a seed funding,
Yes.
as developing your network. So, and which gets to that you should already have a plan. You know what I'm saying? We need a game plan. That's one
Yes.
of the that's one of the areas that I work most closely with my clients on, an area that I specialize in because for years that's what I did, that kind of
Yeah.
community planning, problem solving,
Yeah.
using those game plans, goals, actions to
Yeah.
transform communities and schools. And so now I do it with work with women leaders and executives. And one of the strategies we know that works is having a strategy, a
Yes.
game plan.
Yes.
And so while you are in, hey Tanisha, love you. While you are in whatever you got now, put yourself together a plan. Think about where you want to go. Put together your goals. Vision your
And get some
ideal
support.
self.
And get
Yes,
some
get your
support.
support.
Have someone,
Strengthen your
what do you think of
network.
this plan? Yes. Abby, I saw
Absolutely.
you in there, Abby. Abby, how are you? I saw you with those emojis. I met Abby a long time ago at another totally different event, and we chat on IG sometimes, and I send her stories sometimes.
How you doing, Abby? Good to meet you. Glad you're here. Oh, this is fantastic. So I don't know if we have other questions. We've got a lot of great questions. Tanisha, that's my girl. But so let's just take this one question that I have. Artivate, I want to ask you,
Yeah.
if you could go back in time, this is our closing question. So I'm just checking to see if we got any others, but this is the closing question I want to ask.
Okay.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself before you made the career switch that you made?
I mean, it's like law to HR, then HR to, there are a bunch of switches. But if for this probably this one right now, if I could go back in time and tell myself something, it would be trust yourself. Trust yourself, because a lot of the issue is self-trust. Like you have to be so convicted, but there's going to be uncertainty and you're going to be afraid.
I love it. I love it. I think when I think about this question and what would I have told myself before I made the switch. Well, when I made the switch, a lot of the feedback that I got, Artivee, was, shouldn't you be retired? Ain't you too old?
Never.
Why don't you go sit down somewhere? I got a lot of that.
Ugh.
Hey, and because, again, it was a 40-year plus decade in executive management, running nonprofit organization, raising money and all of that. And then here in my late 60s, I decided to become a businesswoman. So I got that. And so I could tell you some of the things I would have said to other people before I made that switch. But
I love it.
what I would have, if I went back in time, I would have told myself to remember to find and give joy.
Yeah.
Because in the whole rat race of things and everything that goes on and all of the challenges and the ups and downs, the anxiety, the sleepless night, trying to figure out where the next check coming from and all of that, finding my passion and doing my passion and being vibrant and happy and glad really needed to be the priority. And living my best life, which I'm doing now.
Amen.
Yeah, I would have told myself before the switch, that's really the goal.
Yeah.
And then being able to bring joy to others in terms of my business and helping leaders and doing that. I would have told myself, hey, that's going to be the real goal. That's going to
Yes.
be really what makes you happy, that you're finding and giving
Yeah.
joy. So,
Yes.
um,
I
I
love
am
it.
so delighted with this conversation. Having you here has been phenomenal. Tell us about your book before we close down.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing. I would love for everyone to pre-order the book. It's called Your Time to Rise. You can get it on Amazon right now. Other links will be available later, but right now it's available for pre-order on Amazon. It comes out January 14th. It's really a book for all women, but I wrote it specifically for women of color, first generation women who are mothers who really are ready to pursue what Dr. Neve was just talking about. Like, how do you pursue fulfillment and joy? And how do you pursue a path of change? Get really honest with yourself and decide how you want to live and work and what that looks like for you and how do you make that work? That is what the book is about. And so I'm hoping that you will all pick it up and that you enjoy it.
We will. And thank you for your leadership and stepping out there, showing us so many good things, great lessons, things that we can learn from you. I respect your journey, and so glad we've been able to talk with you today. So,
Thank you so much, Dr.
Arivee
Janine.
Vargas, thank you for coming in from
Thank
Boston to
you.
be with us.
Thank
We'll
you so
talk
much.
soon.
Thank you. Bye.
So I just